If you watched the Cardboard Critics last week, you made a quick $125 over the past week. Don't let this blue-haired player fool you. He's real hot right now. One of the boys in blue and someone that should have been traded a year ago. What's up, YouTube, and welcome back into Hot in the Hobby, where we go over some of the hottest cards in the sports card world right now, driving markets forward. I'm Mr. Hollywood. On the other side of the screen there, that's Joe Nasty, our very first ever remote episode. Sad. Used to just sit right here.
I know. Yeah. I don't smell your scent, and it's gonna throw me off kilter a bit, but I think we'll manage.
I think we'll manage, but we'll see how it goes. So let's jump right in for this week, starting off with Andy Pahz, the outfielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers, his 2020 Bowman Chrome first autograph and a PSA 10, and his 2024 Topps Chrome update autograph to $4.99. We have 4 cards here for you. His 2024 Topps Chrome update radiating rookies card in raw condition, and his 2024 Topps Heritage Real 1 autograph in raw condition. You can see the pricing chart on these. They're up anywhere between 30 and 70% over the past week. Andy Pahz so far this season is hitting .269 with 6 homers and 14 RBIs. He has an OPS of 826, and his WAR is already higher than it was all of last season at 1.4. Over the past 2 weeks, though, Andy has hit .429 with 4 homers, 9 RBIs, and a 1.240 OPS. That is Aaron Judge OPS.
Yeah, for a week. For a week.
For a week. He's been one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball for the better part of 2 weeks now. But you know what's kind of interesting is when you take a look at his baseball savant statistics, he's above average in sweet spot percentage, bat speed, and whiff percentage, but literally every other bat category is well below major league average, like well into the blue. You do not want to be in the blue. I know we're going to talk about someone with blue hair later, but you do not want to be on the blue in these charts.
No.
He's actually been an amazing fielder so far this year. He is top of charts red elite, according to Baseball Savant in fielding. In the minor leagues, he had a 911 OPS. So he hit the minor leagues very, very hard. 97 homers in his career in the minor leagues. But is Andy Pahz coming around? He has a 100-point OPS improvement so far this year. He's only 24 years old. He did hit the ball very hard in the high levels of the minors, and he's hitting the ball very hard right now. But this one's kind of an interesting one for me, just because the baseball savant stats, which usually show a lot more truth to what's going on, are not necessarily jumping out at you, even during this huge hot streak. So for me, I still think Andy Pahz has a lot to prove. Keep in mind, like, this is a guy who 3 weeks ago, half of the Dodger fan base was clamoring for them to send him down because he was so bad. And he was making a lot of bad plays in the outfield too at that point. But since then, he has been all-star level. Obviously, it probably won't continue, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on Andy Pahz?
A lot, and it's when it comes to players here in LA, we obviously have a lot more in-depth breakdowns because these are guys we watch every single day. You know, there's a reason that jersey and that team is behind me right now. And you brought up the really good defense the last couple of weeks, and then you also mentioned the fact that he was making truly abysmal plays in the outfield. Part of the turnaround, famously here in town, has been that Teoscar Hernandez has taken him under his wing. He's encouraged him, and basically ever since that story broke, you've seen the improvement. What he's done well is that he has really worked counts, even from the beginning of the year. He's worked deep counts at the bottom of the order, and more times than not, early on, it was weak contact or strikeouts. Now it's turning into hits. He's coming off a Player of the Week performance where he shared the title with Eugenio Suarez, who all he did was hit 4 home runs in a game. So that tells you about the week
right.
that Pahz has had. He's mature.
Right.
A lot of times for these young guys, I like to go back and look at the minors. And if I did that, you'd see a guy who just ripped up the minors. He can't go back to AAA because it wouldn't prove anything.
Right.
Look, it's a story of the Dodgers roster, right? You need to fill in the cracks with pieces that you've developed. Any other roster, any other franchise, this is probably a kid who's getting his opportunity. It doesn't matter. He's probably batting like 5th consistently, as opposed to like the responsibility of batting 8th or 9th and having to get on base for Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. So it's a different approach. The defense is better. Believe it or not, teams, especially the Dodgers, consider center field easier because the ball's coming at you as opposed to the weird curvature in right or left. But he's getting used to it.
Right.
I think it's a tough player to really latch onto in terms of the way we're talking here because the role is just going to be marginalized. They're just going to need him to produce enough and field the ball enough to warrant staying in the majors and getting consistent at bats, which he is, and he's making the most of it. The last part I'll say about this is it's funny the conversations we have in March and April and here into May, because if a guy had a 2-week bad stretch in July, it's like, ho-hum, it's whatever. We're not really paying attention, right? It just gets magnified in the smaller sample size. So is he a player of the week candidate every single week? Obviously not. But is he a cratered out guy that needs to go back to the minors? I don't think so. I think he's somewhere in the middle, and that's just exactly what the team needs. Maybe not what people that are watching the show need in terms of investment, though.
Yeah, no. I think that's a good way to put it. He can't really. He has nothing left to prove in the minors. He did,
No, he's
this
ripped
is a guy
up the
with
minors.
900 plus OPS in the minors. He goes back down. Who do they bring up realistically if he goes back down anyways?
It would be Outman. It would be James Outman who.
It'd be James Outman who was a horrific failure last year after having a crazy first year actually. But moving on to hot card number 2 for this week. And this is one that was our undervalued card of the week last week, and it is Anthony Edwards, the guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. His 2020 Prism Base rookie card in raw condition, as well as the PSA 10 silver, as well as the silver in raw condition, were all up significantly over the past week. I think we told you last week to buy that card at $823.
Right, yeah.
I believe was the price. Well, now that card is trading just north of $960. It is up pretty significantly over the past week. It's up 8%, the PSA 10. The raw version is up 45% to $214. And then the base card is up 26.8% to $16 in raw condition. And in a 10, it is up 18% to $122. Now this one kind of comes down. I mean, this was glaringly obvious that this was going to happen, especially when the Wolves won that series against the Lakers.
Right. Yeah.
They won 2 games on the Lakers' home floor, which is not a good look for the Lakers. Although, even if the Lakers had won that game, LeBron apparently had sprained his MCL and was not going to be able to play a Game 6. So for all intents and purposes, that series was done and done. Ant had a high last year of $1,700. The silver PSA 10, $1,700 when they made the Western Conference Finals. He is still under $1,000, but I'm telling you, he is going to be over $1,000 very soon again. And this kind of comes down to whether you think the Wolves can take down either the Warriors or the Rockets, so who are currently in a total war of attrition heading to Game 7. No one seems to want to win that series. So my money is personally going to be on the Wolves, considering if Curry and crew get through that. They are very old. They just went through a very physical series with a very young Houston team. I think Minnesota is going to be well rested. They have too much athleticism, too much firepower from the outside for me, and interior defense is just crazy. I mean, Curry's going to have to shoot the lights out to have any shot in that series. I think Houston's too young. I don't think they're ready, too inexperienced. But we talked about Ant obviously last week. It's just it's it's nearly impossible to game plan for Ant. You just have to kind of hope that he's not making threes, but
Right.
even when he's not making threes, he's able to drive the hole. But the problem with guarding the Wolves, and it matters what the team looks like as a whole, because that's what's going to determine whether they advance to the playoffs. Ant's one guy. Sure, he's the best player on the team, but the fact of the matter is, if you're coaching against the Timberwolves, you realistically have no idea who to guard after Ant. You know, Nas, 4 different guys had 20 plus that weren't named Anthony Edwards in the series against the Lakers, right? Nas Reed went for 25 plus in a game. Rudy Gobert had a ridiculous game 5.
He did.
You know, Julius Randle will go for 20 plus. McDaniels can go for 20 plus. DiVincenzo can go for 20 plus.
Yeah.
And they have the experience. Ant's going to be $1,000+ card, maybe even by the time this episode posts. And I don't want to say I told you so, but this one was as obvious as it gets, honestly.
No, you absolutely can pat yourself on the back for this one. Even if they hadn't won that game 5, they were heading home to a rabid Minnesota home crowd. I don't know.
And there would have been no LeBron.
It was a remarkable timing. The day after they lost that game, the way LeBron just snuck that out there, but that's a different conversation for a different time. Yeah, and you're right. This is a conversation about Anthony Edwards, but truly it's a conversation about a really well put together roster. He is a superstar on a team full of other guys who are maybe not superstars. Obviously, Julius Randle is a former lottery pick. Rudy Gobert is one of the better interior defensemen or defensive players on the inside that we've seen over the last decade or so. So it is a really well put together team. And you said DiVincenzo, who I totally forgot about. And of course, Nas Reed is a former 6th man of the year. So a lot of weapons, really good defense across the board. But it is a team predicated on Anthony Edwards' ability to break down a defense. It's really the modern basketball dream team, right? You have the superstar that can break you down off the dribble, can hit a 3, just had a career high in 3-point percentage this past year, but he can get to the rack at will. That's why preference for me... Yeah, go ahead.
Did he not lead the league? Did he not lead the league in threes?
I'd have to look that up. I would be shocked if that was the case, but he did get better. Like, that is a fact that he did improve, and I would still back off of him and force Anthony Edwards to shoot over the top. Because if you're picking your poison, that seems like it.
It was Anthony Edwards.
There you go. So, like, you're daring a guy who can
He
attack
led the
rack.
league in 3-pointers.
Like, made or, like, not percentage, right?
No,
like,
made.
Total volume. There you go. So, he can beat you in all facets.
323s.
And you're right. The matchup, I think, is going to balloon his value here pretty soon. Steph Curry's usage rate is already skyrocketing compared to when they won the title a couple seasons ago. Draymond is our age, and the gray in his beard is unbelievable. He's got a bit more stressful life defending, with the defense he plays, but still,
the gray in our beards is not quite the same level of Draymond Green.
Mine's in there. But here's my thing with the Rockets, and I'll finish on this. My thing with the Rockets is I have the same thought as you, in that they're too young, but they went into San Francisco and won Game 6. If they get through a Game 7 against this crew, that says a lot about a young up-and-coming team. So I may take them a lot more seriously.
They also will have home court if they do advance.
They would. You're right.
Have to keep that in mind. But moving on to hot card number 3. Before I move to hot card number 3, just by the way, if you guys want access to all of the charts that we are showing and ways of comping cards and finding out what you should be paying for certain cards and how much they're up over a certain period of time, or how much they're down to find maybe some diamonds in the rough, I recommend you use the Market Movers app. That's what we use. If you go to marketmovers.com and enter the code Hollywood, you'll get a free 2-week trial and then 20% off your subscription for the rest of your life.
Oof.
That is a pretty darn good deal. But moving on to our third hot card of the week, and it is Pete Crow Armstrong. I told you there was a guy with blue hair in this week's episode, and it is not Hades from the animated Hercules movie. His 2024 Topps Chrome Home Field Advantage card in a PSA 10 is up 34% this week to $200, and the PSA 9 is up a whopping almost 80% to $80 per card this week. So far in 2025, PCA, as he is known, is hitting 271 with 9 homers, 26 RBIs, 12 steals, and 871 OPS, and he has 2.1 WAR already through just 34 games. What does that pace average out to if he continues to do this for the rest of the year, which obviously won't happen? It averages out to 271, 43 homers, 124 RBIs, and 57 stolen bases. So it averages out to basically like 40-60, which is, again, is not going to happen. But PCA could very well flirt with 30-40 or 30-50 or even 30-60.
Yeah.
And that's pretty special to me because everyone loves Ellie so much. And he's a mid-20s homer guy and a 60s to 70s stolen base guy. If PCA hits 10 more homers than Ellie, or 5 to 8 more homers than Ellie, and steals 10 bases less than Ellie, and hits about the same in terms of average, here's the thing. I don't think his average is gonna stay 270. That's the thing.
Yeah, I doubt it.
He's a very interesting player in terms of investing in his cards. I'm not necessarily jumping at the bit to do it yet because I think he still has more to prove from a contact standpoint. But PCA, what are your thoughts on him so far?
Honestly, didn't see this coming. More often than not, these players kind of just fit into the lane as expected.
I talked about PCA a little bit.
No, and that's what I'm saying. And you brought him up, and I think my reaction was basically like, I don't know, like the glove's gonna play 100% and he'll stick, but I don't see enough contact because he had a pretty good run, in terms of getting at bats towards the end of last year. But now he's a really big contributor on maybe the most complete offense in baseball, certainly the National League. I know there's the Dodgers conversation, but top to bottom, what the Cubs are doing, they're getting contribution. Honestly, their worst hitter is at the moment Dansby Swanson, so take that for what it's worth. PCA is flashing the power, and that's what I didn't see coming. I thought with his speed, he probably could be like a slap and get on with flashes of power, but what he's providing right now is a really complete and really dangerous player. And this is the guy that was a top-ranked prospect. And I saw it online. I forgot. The lamentation was hilarious. Do you remember when he was a prospect who PCA was traded for? Who the major league piece was that Armstrong was the prospect piece for?
It's not on. It's there. I know who it is. It's just it's not.
If I give you the teams, well, maybe it'll help. It was a Cubs-Mets swap. So Crow Armstrong was a Mets prospect.
So someone went from the Cubs to the Mets.
In terms, trying to help them with a playoff push. It was.
Was this the?
It's tough.
Was this the pitching trade?
When I think of a slider low and away getting flailed at by a right-handed hitter, who do you think of?
Well, I mean, for me, there's a lot of players that fit that bill.
Javier
There's
Baez.
like a lot of players that fit that. But Javi Baez has actually been really good the past week.
He has, but the last couple of years, and the Mets probably could. Well, they're playing well too, but imagine if they had P. Crow Armstrong in there as well. So interesting trade to look back on. He did nothing as a Met. That was the main thing.
Yeah. PCA is an interesting one to keep an eye on, guys. I don't think the average will stay there. I think his average will drop under 250 and kind of settle in the 240s range this year, but we'll see. But moving on to hot card number 4 this week, and it is Luis Robert Jr., the outfielder for the Chicago White Sox. His 2020 Topps and Topps Chrome base rookie cards in PSA 10 condition. The Topps paper PSA 10 was up, 602% to $11.50 this past week. It was a $1 card last week. $1.50 for a PSA 10. I mean, The grading fee on that is what, $20 to grade it, and it's worth $1.50. Yikes,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
big loss for a while. But the Topps Chrome PSA 10 rookie card is up 223% over the past week to $32. That was an $8 card last week. So why? Well, Luis Robert is hitting .318 with 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and a over 1,000 OPS over the past week. But he still plays for the White Sox.
He sure does.
And he's hitting .195 still this year with 5 homers, 15 RBIs, 15 stolen bases though, and a .667 OPS. I'm tired of waiting on this whole Luis Robert experiment. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Luis Robert had one good year out of 6 years in the majors. In 2023, he hit 38 homers while hitting a modest .264, which was good for an OPS of just .857, and he had 5 WAR that year. To have 5 WAR and an .857 OPS in a year that you hit 40 homers is not like overly impressive to me. And on top of this, he is a made of glass type of guy, right? That season where he hit 38 homers was the only healthy season he ever had. I don't know if he's ever had more than 400 at-bats in any other season. The White Sox should have traded him last season when his value was higher, but I think it's probably cratered even lower now. His baseball savant statistics are well below league average in almost all hitting categories, aside from bat speed and walk percentage. So he does take his walks, and he does have high bat speed, but that doesn't matter when you're either not on the field or you're not making contact with the ball. I assume someone's going to trade for him this year. But the White Sox are not going to get anything near what they would have gotten for him last year. He has 2 club options for 2026 and 2027 at $20 million. $20 million a year, pass. Like, I would not be picking up that club option, honestly. I wouldn't be paying him $10 million. I wouldn't pay him $10 to $12 million. That's how good I think Luis Robert is. I don't think he's that, at the end of the bottom line, I just don't think he's that good. And this just goes to show you, you need to rebuild and trade these guys when they have value. They did it with Garrett Crochet last year and got a haul for him.
They did.
They got Kyle Teal, they got Montgomery, both top 60 prospects in all of baseball. And then they got 2 more top 15 prospects from Boston. But you see this happen time and time again. The Angels didn't trade Ohtani. The Angels didn't trade Trout. This is quintessential not sound GM decision making by not trading him. But I'm not going to get excited on Luis Robert because I don't think he's a low 200s hitter. He's going to get hurt, and at $20 million a year, no thanks.
Well, yeah, you put together a hot week where you bat .318, and now you're still hitting a robust .195. I mean, that kind of tells you
yeah, exactly.
all you need to know. The best thing he has going for him is that he's still 27. He debuted really young. He's been in the league now, it feels like forever. And this was the hot prospect coming up for a while there. This was the guy we heard about the next 40. He was supposed to be like Acuna, healthy Acuna, right? The power speed combo out there in the outfield. And he feels like a prime trade prospect for a team that just actually knows how to go about things right. He's toolsy. Like, I would think with all the injuries that the speed would have been sapped, but the stolen base numbers are there, but the raw hit tool's not really popping out right now, which maybe screams for a different situation, a team that has better approaches, a team that can dig in. You know, I'm thinking again, like a team like the Mariners could maybe use a spark, even though they're in first place, first place, to like really just push them to the finish line in the second half of the season. The Brewers maybe to keep pace with the Cubbies. Just a team that knows what they're doing, and to get him out of that sad sack situation that is the White Sox. Yeah. I don't know about you, but those City Connects aren't doing it for me either. No, the one
like
that you're
it?
wearing. No, the one you're wearing is good.
This is sweet. Yeah. This is cool. Oh, you mean the new like Bulls looking one?
Yeah. Tell me you have no identity without. Well, no, it's
I
cool.
think it's.
So
Yeah, I
here,
actually think it's kind of cool.
let me clarify. A nice little crossover thing, I dig, but like that's for like Twitter. Like, again, tell me that you don't have any identity within yourself as an organization.
Yeah.
Like, because.
Yeah, I hear you.
And remember, they're owned by the same guy. So the best tweet I saw about it was Jerry Reinsdorf is trying to remind Chicagoans that there's another team in town that they hate him for. So
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
that
why
team isn't even and that team isn't even that good right now anymore either.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Robert needs a change of scenery just to really see. But I'm not pouncing on him.
Yeah, he does. He needs a change of scenery, but Robert is also, in my opinion, he can't be the guy on your team, right? He needs to be in the right atmosphere, in the right lineup, helping produce in certain ways where he's not relied upon to provide the power, the speed, and the average, because that's just not going to happen. And it's not going to happen consistently because he just gets hurt nonstop. But that'll wrap things up for us on this week's episode of Hot in the Hobby. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And comment down below which guys you like or dislike going forward. Probably don't tell us if you like us or not, though, because that might hurt our feelings. So until next time, I'm Mr. Hollywood. That over there is Joe Nasty, and we're changing things up for you this week, actually. It'll be the Cardboard Critics and our Invest in These Cards Now Cards of the Week for you, airing tomorrow afternoon. So until then, Mr. H, Mr. J, out.